You can't change other people. You can only change yourself. I mean, that's what we've always been told, right? I can hear my mom saying it now. But Peter Bregman and Howie Jacobson, authors of You Can Change Other People, say we've got it all wrong.
You completely can change other people. And it's what we get wrong about it is that we think the way you change them is by criticizing them or giving them feedback or telling them what they're doing wrong. And that has the opposite effect. That actually incites resistance to change. So we're doing it wrong, but we can absolutely have a positive impact on people.
When you say changing others is the most important capability a leader can develop, I mean, that sounds true, but I don't know. Tell me about this.
Yeah, well, leaders understand this because leaders are on the front lines and they recognize like they can be the greatest performer in the world, but a leader of an organization needs to be able to scale their impact and influence so that everyone is pushing in the right direction. So leaders are the ones who kind of understand this. In terms of like the word changing other people, can we just say positively impacting other people to improve their performance, which was like a longer title than we wanted to put on the cover of the book.
If they have to want to change, how do we disarm others' defensiveness and increase the confidence to act? How do we get that person there?
So the first step is to shift from being a critic to being an ally. And the way to do that is through empathy and permission. So we have a formula that we talk about in the book, which is to empathize with the person, to express confidence in them, and to ask permission to engage in a conversation with them. So we can't come in as the person who's going to strong arm or manipulate or force them into change. So we engage with them in a conversation, and oftentimes they want to change themselves. So we're there to help and support, and the way we do that is by getting their permission.
Can we put this in like a real world scenario? How does this work?
So, here's a scenario in a relationship, which is and I may or may not have experienced this in my own life. I'm not committing to anything. But like you're wanting to connect and you're noticing that your partner is on their phone and they're, constantly either on their iPad or their phone or something like that. And so you want to change that. You want them to connect. Now, the first thing you do is you get in touch with you might be angry that they're not connecting, but ultimately you get in touch with what you care about, which is that you love them. You want to connect with them. Like that's a positive, productive thing. I want to be in connection with you. So you sort of say what you want and ask permission. So the first thing you might say is, hey, I'm really wanting to sort of connect, and I find it a little hard when you're on your phone, and I'm wondering if we could have this conversation. You'd be willing to be in this conversation with me. So they might be a little defensive and be like, well, you're on your phone too. Yeah. Right. And you could say, yeah, that's true. I am often on my phone. Would you be willing to talk about with me how we can kind of connect more? And, it's likely at some point that they'll say yes. And then the second step is to talk about the outcome you want. Like the outcome I want is to be connected. I know it's hard sometimes and we're tired and it's been a long day, but what I really want is to be connected. And what is the outcome that you want? What would you like? And you're going to be in a conversation with them. I don't know what they're going to like, but chances are in that conversation, they'd be happy to be connected also. And now you're off and running and you're saying, how could we then find opportunities to connect?
Right.
I love that. I love just the asking permission, but focusing on the positive, which I think is a really great idea for anyone in any relationship. Howie, what about this, in a work-life balance situation? How do we kind of do this in a real life situation at work?
I love this idea of really focusing on the outcome we want, because in Peter's example, if the outcome I want is connection and I come in the way I would normally come in, sort of snarky or critical or sighing, I'm getting the opposite of the outcome that I want. And it's hard to get clear on a positive outcome when we are ourselves in the grip of the negative emotion. So again, if someone at work is behaving badly on a team, according to me, they're aggressive, they're interrupting, they're critical, they're bullying other people. So I just want them off the team, right? That's the outcome I want. But when I go through the process and I think like, what do I really want? I want the team to be high functioning. I want productive conflict. I want people to respect each other and challenge each other for the good of the work we're doing. So at that point, I'm in touch with my own positive intent. And now what's that outcome that I really want? And maybe that person who is critical all the time is actually part of the solution.
Mm.
Maybe they're the only one who's raising difficult issues. And so maybe I can use that energy not to get rid of them, but to raise the team's performance even higher than if that person hadn't been on it. And that's all made possible because of the work that I first do on myself, to then be able to approach them with grace and generosity, and to then collect both of us, say, what's the outcome that we both want?
Interesting food for thought.